Hi everyone, I'm Ty and welcome to another AgileDad University video. In this video, we're going to be talking about how you and your team can get started with your Agile transformation. And as always, if you want to see the full details on this topic, you can always click the link in the description below where you can see my blog and all of my thoughts on this subject. So this topic is something that we get asked by many people. Where do I start? When you first get started learning about Agile and the benefits that it can have for your team, it can be very overwhelming. There's so many different aspects and so many things to think about that sometimes it's hard to know what's most important to begin with and where to start. And a lot of times what we'll see is paralysis by analysis, where there's just so many things to think about that we don't want to do anything until we are reasonably sure that we can do it perfectly. And the best way to do Agile is to just get started. In this video, we have 6 tips for how to get started with Agile. First, we want to talk about training, that level set of training for the whole organization. Second, we want to talk about the Agile roles and responsibilities and what they are and who should be doing them. Next, we want to talk about how to set up your Agile teams. Fourth, we'll talk a little bit about the different Agile ceremonies and how they can be beneficial for you. Fifth, we'll talk about the concept of the team launch activity that can really help you jumpstart your Agile teams and get them all on the same page together. And last, we'll talk a little bit about some of the expectations you can have over the first few weeks and months of your Agile transformation. So let's talk a little bit about Agile training and how that can be effective and valuable for you and your team. This can be extremely valuable as a level set across the whole organization to make sure that everyone's on the same page, that we're all using the same words and terminology, and it can act as a very powerful unifying element for the team. It gets everyone on the same page and pushing together towards a common goal. There's so much value in getting everyone in the room together. We all hear the same examples, we're able to interact with each other, and we're able to then remind each other later on about the examples and lessons that were learned that day, because we were all in it together. This kind of level set of Agile training can have such a great impact on your team, whether it be Agile Foundations training or certified Scrum Master or certified Product Owner training. It will really help you to make sure that you get off on the right foot. AgileDad, of course, can provide all of this training. We're happy to help in any way that we can. This kind of training will at least help you know what to expect and give you a good layout of the land as you're beginning your Agile transformation. Okay, next we want to talk about the 3 Agile roles. This is one of the most common questions that we get, and this is another way that Agile training can be really beneficial because it really gets everyone on the same page for understanding. And during that training, we can help you identify who the people are that should be fulfilling these roles and responsibilities right there in the training. There are 3 primary Agile roles: the Product Owner, the Scrum Master, and the Development Team. The Product Owner is responsible for what is being worked on, the Development Team is responsible for how to solve the problem, and the Scrum Master is responsible for how to get things done as quickly as possible. The Product Owner does this by managing the backlog and making sure that there's always clear and well-defined user stories coming down the pipeline for the Development Team to work on. The Scrum Master will principally focus on the process itself and removing any roadblocks or impediments and enabling the team to get stuff done as quickly as possible. The Development Team is then responsible for designing and implementing things in the best way possible and in solving these technical problems that we may face. We have a blog and an AgileDad University video on this subject specifically, so we'll leave a link in the description below for you to get more details. Okay, next we want to talk about team size and organization. This is how you'll break up your teams and get them set up. What this works out to is about 7 ± 2 people on the team. Depending on your organization, depending on the work that's being done, you could go a little larger or a little smaller, but usually we like to stay right in that sweet spot. The reason we like to keep teams small is it reduces the team overhead of getting something done or making a decision. The more people we have on the team, the more time it takes to make decisions, the longer meetings get. It also starts to lose its ability to react quickly to changes in the marketplace. One of the biggest advantages of using Agile and Scrum is being able to quickly respond to changes in the marketplace. So by keeping our team small, we're able to continuously adapt to changing business needs. One of the most important aspects of keeping your team small is keeping the number of communication channels small as well. As we increase the number of people, the number of communication channels between each person on the team increases exponentially. And this additional overhead starts to become a drag on the team, and it reduces our overall efficiency. So we want to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible by keeping our team small. Another important aspect is that we want to make sure that the team has everything that it needs to complete one of these stories so that we can reduce handoffs and deliver something valuable to the customer at the end of every single sprint. You also want to make sure that the team has a clearly defined product owner and Scrum Master that can serve them and make sure that they're as efficient as possible. Okay, next we're going to talk about the Agile ceremonies. The most important part of these Agile ceremonies is that they become regular and that they're not ad hoc. One thing that I'll sometimes see teams doing is that they'll schedule each sprint planning meeting or retrospective individually. A lot of times we'll either miss meetings or they'll get pushed and the process starts to break down. So one of the first things that's important to do is to get these Agile ceremonies regularly scheduled on the calendar. You want to get your daily stand-up, your sprint planning, your sprint review, your sprint retrospective, and your demo on the calendar at a regularly repeating interval in the same time and place every sprint. That way those meetings are not a surprise and they happen every sprint and we're able to get the value out of them every time. This also helps them to not take as long when we're doing them regularly because the work doesn't pile up that needs to happen and be discussed during those meetings. The biggest suggestion that I can have for you for your Agile ceremonies is to just get started. It may seem daunting, you may not have the most efficient sprint planning meetings or the best retrospectives at first, but as you go and you get more experience with them, they'll get better and better every time. So the next concept I want to talk about is the concept of the team launch activity. This is something that we usually suggest a team does right after they receive their level set of Agile Foundations training. This is a great opportunity for you as a team to decide on your meeting cadence. It also gives you a chance to discuss the Agile roles and who will be responsible for each of those different roles. There's also a few other things that are really important that be done in the team launch activity. The first is the definition of ready. This is where we define what a user story has to have before it can be accepted into a sprint. Another important thing that needs to be discussed in the team launch activity is the definition of done. This is similar to the definition of ready, but it is on the back end. What does every user story have to be able to be marked as complete and accepted at the end of a sprint? Next, we want to talk about the team working agreement. For some teams, it's really important that everyone starts a meeting on time. For other teams, it might be important that we don't eat at our cubicles. This is the perfect opportunity to discuss how we're able to work together efficiently and effectively and stay happy as we work with each other. And last, since we're doing this team launch activity directly after our level set of Agile training, this is a great opportunity to discuss the biggest areas of change that we can expect in the weeks to come as we're trying to become Agile and use Agile to be more efficient and effective as a team. Last, I want to talk a little bit about what you can expect over the first few weeks and months of your Agile transformation. Don't expect to be perfect overnight. Agile is not a light switch. It does take time for us to learn how to get the most out of some of these meetings and ceremonies that we do as a part of our Agile implementation. You'll learn and you'll get better as you do them, but the best thing to do is to just get started. We like to suggest people do things by the book as much as possible for the first few months so that they can really get the hang of the different meetings and that they're doing things every single sprint. As you learn and as you get better with some of these Agile ceremonies, you might be able to adapt them to meet your needs better. But at the beginning, it's really valuable if you start by the book and follow the instructions exactly. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you. I know so many teams that I've worked with have seen huge improvements and gains from using Agile effectively on their team. And it can be very difficult at first to know where to start, but these are the basics. AgileDad as an organization can help you get through some of these hurdles, and we'd love to be able to provide that initial Agile training and some coaching and follow-up to help you be successful with your Agile transformation. So send us an email at learnmore@agiledad.com if you have any questions, or if there's anything that we can help with, or if we can get you into one of our upcoming training classes. We also have many more videos just like this one on our YouTube page. Be sure to like and subscribe so that you never miss one. And let us know in the comments below what has been the biggest hurdle for you in beginning your Agile transformation.